Virginia farmers know that many of the goods they sell are sent overseas. We've been given access to what happens behind the scenes at the Port of Virginia when a shipment of soybeans arrives at the Richmond facility, and where it goes from there. The soybeans arrive from the farm in a hopper truck that dumps them out of the bottom. These trucks are capable of carrying 1,000 bushels of soybeans, weighing 60,000 pounds. Once the hopper truck is empty, the beans are fed into storage silos until a container is ready to take on the shipment.
They are delivered here, we unload, we grade, we store for a short period of time, and then we reload, export based on bookings that we get for overseas delivery.
The container we're following arrives at the Richmond facility, but before it can be loaded, it first has to be inspected for cleanliness by the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. Once the container is cleared, the beans are fed from the silos into the container along a covered conveyor belt. The container is loaded from the back end, and when that section is full, the truck backs up a few feet to bring in more product. The container can carry nearly 60,000 pounds of bulk soybeans. Once it's full, the truck drives off to the storage area of the port to wait for its next destination. Forbes Lowe manages Schooler's operations.
My family has been in agriculture forever. Both of my grandparents were farmers. My dad and my uncle were farmers for a short period of time. My uncle ran a farm service for his whole career of 40 years. I did 12 years at a farm service, was their fertilizer management specialist.
During peak harvest season, they can load more than 80 containers per day. Most of these shipments are destined for China, Vietnam, Taiwan, and Malaysia. Full containers are loaded onto a barge. This one is called the Virginia Express, and towed down the James River to one of the Port of Virginia's primary container facilities, the Norfolk International Terminals. Our container was loaded onto the barge early in the afternoon, but it was several hours later, around 7 o'clock, before it began the journey downriver. Well before daybreak, Captain Eric Wernick drove me and Greg Edwards from the Port of Virginia from a dock in Norfolk to meet the barge carrying our container of soybeans. We had to travel in his small motor launch down the Elizabeth River, where downtown Norfolk remained lit and eerily silent. It's a no-wake zone, so we had to move slowly until we reached Hospital Point, just south of the Midtown Tunnel. Free of the no-wake zone, we sped quickly to meet the Virginia Express and our container of soybeans. In the pitch black, only the lights from the tug are visible. But as the sky brightened, we could soon see the barge, and with it came a new appreciation of how efficient container shipping has become. Even on this smaller barge, containers are stacked several units high. It doesn't take long before the Virginia Express barge reaches its destination, the Norfolk International Terminals. One of the deepest commercial ports on the U.S. East Coast, it processed 3.7 million TEUs in the fiscal year that concluded in June 2022. A new record. TEU stands for 20-foot equivalent unit, a container 20 feet long. Our soybean container is 40 feet long, so it's considered 2 TEUs. In any given week, more than 35,000 TEUs move through the Norfolk terminals.
The thing that has really been a game changer in the agricultural industry is the ability to bulk load agricultural product into containers. 20 and 25 years ago, the idea of bulk loading containers with ag was unheard of. You had to ship agricultural products in bulk vessels. But the ability now to access empty containers, 20-foot, 40-foot containers, and bulk load a product like soybeans or soybean meal into that container has really revolutionized the industry. It's enabled shippers, smaller shippers, to enter international markets, and it's enabled them to secure customers who may not necessarily be able to buy 50,000 tons of their product, but they could buy 5 containers worth of their product. So that's been a very fundamentally positive change for the industry and for the port as well in our ability to handle those exports.
The Port of Virginia also has a major facility in Northern Virginia known as the Virginia Inland Port. It was built in Front Royal as a way for shippers to avoid Baltimore and the D.C.-Baltimore traffic congestion. Cargo can be loaded there, then brought by rail directly to the Norfolk International Terminals.
The presence of the Virginia Inland Port has been a catalyst attracting investment from companies like Family Dollar, Home Depot, and others into the northern Shenandoah Valley. They built brick and mortar facilities in close proximity to the inland port, and of course they are our very significant customers.
Export and trade activities at the Port of Virginia have a major impact on Virginia's economy. Edwards says they generate more than 437,000 jobs and $47 billion each year in gross state product. Maritime commerce generates more than $100 billion in total economic impact throughout the Commonwealth on an annual basis.
The business school at the College of William and Mary regularly conducts an economic impact study on behalf of the port, and it has been determined that 1 in 10 jobs across Virginia are tied to some type of maritime activity here in the port, not necessarily purely container business, but also the coal industry and other bulk and break bulk activities that take place here. 10% of the Virginia workforce has some attachment to maritime commerce.
The great thing about being on port is having ready labor available, and the combination of having massive quantities of boxes that we can float through. Like, I might have 3 or 4 different bookings open at the same time going to several different ship lines, so that if I run out of equipment in one truck line, I can easily move my computer over to another truck line and just keep right on going.
These 170-foot cranes will eventually unload all the containers on the barge, including the one carrying our soybeans. From there, algorithms created in the port's control room will determine where and when that container will be loaded. The soybean shipment we've been tracking is just one of thousands of containers processed daily here at the Port of Virginia, destined for our trading partners around the world. In Norfolk, Virginia, I'm Burke Moeller reporting.